continue our session with our third speaker, Gary DeBoer. He teaches chemistry and patent law in Longview, Texas. And his title today is Genesis 1 as an Invention Disclosure, What Does God Claim as His IP? Let's welcome Gary.
There's some handouts going around, and raise your hand to get them. One is a copy of Genesis 1 through 28, and the other is a blank set of paper for writing claims, because we're going to be working today in this session. Sorry, you chose the wrong place to come if you wanted to take a nap, because we're going to be doing some work today. All right, so thank you for inviting me again. It's great to be here in San Diego, where the highs are in the 70s, unlike in Texas, where the highs were in the hundreds when I left. And so this is a very cool place, very literally a cool place to be. One of the things that I do in Texas, in addition to teaching chemistry, is teach a course in patent law for scientists and engineers. And I do this because LeTourneau, the university I work for, tries to sell itself as the Polytechnic University, and so a lot of our courses have this sort of technical flavor to them. Now, when I teach this course, students quite often ask, why patent anything? And what's the purpose of patenting something? Well, here's an example that I oftentimes give to them. In the, let's see, there is a laser pointer here. There it is. So in this circle up here, you can see our house. Over here, you can see a vacant lot. And this is just off of the LeTourneau campus. So nice sort of walk to school that way. Our teenage son liked to play airsoft with his buddies. And my wife and I decided, well, they're not going to play airsoft in the house. They can go play airsoft in the vacant lot. And all the other parents agreed. We exercise, as our parents, the right to exclude our children from using our home for the purpose of playing airsoft. This is an example of exercising our property rights over a property. Yes, and if you own property, you know you have a survey and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with intellectual property. If you want to exercise your rights to exclude other people from using that intellectual property for things that you don't want them to, you need to get a patent on it. So we're going to talk a little bit about patenting today. Now, the key to a patent is writing what we call the claim sets. So you're given an invention disclosure by somebody who thinks they have developed some intellectual property, and then you, as the patent agent or the patent attorney, have to write the claims associated with that intellectual property to properly say this is what the inventor made. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about claims here, and teach you a little bit about claims, and then we're going to have you write some claims. So in the first example here, we have this thing up here. The inventor comes to you and he plunks this thing down on your desk, and he says, I've invented this thing, I call it a cup. And I find it to be very useful for hauling stuff or drinking out of. Can we patent this thing? And if that's a new thing and nobody else has ever invented a cup, you say, yes, we can patent this thing because it's new and it's useful. And we would write a claim to describe the cup. And we would say something like, a cup comprising of a cylinder having an open end and a closed end and a handle. Okay? So a cup is the preamble. Comprising is the transition word, and the other things that follow along are the elements of the claim. Now, this inventor also says, yeah, but I've also invented this other thing here without the handle. Can we patent that as well? And you say to them, of course we can. We just write another claim. So we have our first claim, the same one as we had before, a cup comprising a cylinder with an open end and a closed end. But instead of putting the handle on there, we don't put the handle on the first claim. We write a second claim. We say the cup of claim 1, further comprising a handle attached to the cylinder. So between these two claims, we now have covered the cup with the handle and the cup without a handle. The second claim we say is a dependent claim because it refers to a previous claim, claim number 1. So we say claim number 2 is a dependent claim. Claim number 1 is an independent claim because it doesn't refer to anybody else. It stands all by itself. All right, so you with me so far? Independent claim, dependent claim. Yes? All right, woo, we've got active audience. All right, I like this. All right, so here we go again. Now, what if the inventor says, hey, but I also want to put this logo on the cup, and I don't want anybody else to be able to do that. Can I protect putting the logo on the cup? And of course, you're a bright, smart patent agent, so you say, of course we can do this. So we write a third claim, and a third claim says the cup of claim 1 or claim 2, further comprising an LETU logo. We call this a multi-dependent claim because it references not one previous claim, but how many? 2. Yes, a multiple number of claims. It could be 2 or 3 or maybe even more. All right, so we have the dependent claim, we have the independent claim, and we have the multi-dependent claim. One more type of claim here before we go into our claim writing exercise, and that's the combination or functional claim. All right, so if we rewrite claim 1 to read something like this, a cup comprising of a cylinder having an open end and a closed end and a handle as a means for holding the cup. When you put language like that in there, you're implying a function to things, and that limits how much you are claiming. So the handle is not for ornamental design. The handle is as a means for holding the cup. All right, so we call that a functional claim. So just to review our 4 types of claims, we have the independent claim, which stands by itself, that does not reference anybody else. We have a singly dependent claim that references one of the previous claims. We have multi-dependent claims that can reference more than 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as you want of the previous claims. And then we have the functional claim, the claim that has as a means for type of language in it. All right, so those are our 4 types of claims. The next thing that we need then is the disclosure. That thing that the inventor gives us to help describe the invention. And so today the disclosure that we are going to use is Genesis 1 through 28. And hopefully you've got a copy of that with you. And you got the claim sheet, that blank claim sheet with you, right? And let's see, if we can work for a little while writing some claims, right? So again, there's Genesis 1. You can't read that, so hopefully you've got your own copy. And what you want to do is write a claim saying a blank. Now you can use either consisting or comprising. Consisting means you have a closed set. Comprising means that you could add things to it later. Yes? Of a what? So look at Genesis 1 and see if you can write some of these claims. Again, here are the 4 different types of claim examples. So I'm going to be quiet now for a little while and give you a chance to write some claims. Okay, we're handing out a set of claims as an example set of claims for Genesis 1. You might compare these to the claims that you started writing. Your claims might look a little different than this set of claims, and that's okay. There's lots of different ways you can write a set of claims. Okay, so you can see that claim 1, it's an independent claim. Starts out and says that creation consisting of a heaven and an earth. Consisting again is a closed set. So the heavens and the earth is it. There's nothing besides the heavens and the earth. Right? And then we have claim 2, which goes on and talks about things of the earth. So take a minute and look over these and compare them to Genesis 1 and see what you think. And we'll kind of come back and do some other exercises with these claims. Okay, the next thing we're going to do here is talk about claim trees. And there's a tree in Genesis as well. There's a couple trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Well, this tree that we're going to talk about is neither one of those. We're going to take our tree and actually we're going to flip it over upside down here. And what we're going to do then is we're going to start with the root claim and look to the branches that come from the root of the claims. So we'll begin with claim 1. Okay, claim 1 we're putting at the top of the chart here. So that's the root of our tree. And claim 1, independent claim, claiming the heavens and the earth. Claim 2 says the creation of claim 1, wherein the earth is comprised of light and a dark, wherein the light is a means for day, and wherein the dark is a means for night. So claim 2 is dependent on claim 1. Without claim 1, you can't have claim 2. Claim 3, if you look at claim 3 is dependent on claim 2. And it says the creation of claim 2, wherein the earth is further comprised of a vault, wherein the vault is a means to separate the plurality of waters into water above and into water below. All right. So far, so good. Now, if we look at claims 4, 5, and 6, we see that all 3 of these claims depend on claim number 3. Okay, so claim 4, we're talking about the sun, moon, and stars, which is in the vault. So sun, moon, and stars further describes the vault. Birds are also in the vault, in that area between the waters above and the waters below. And claim 6 is also connected to the waters of claim 3, where claim 6 now is going to have land in it that separates the waters into a plurality of seas. All right. And then we look at claim 6, and we see that claims 7, 8, and 9 are all dependent on claim 6. Claim 7, 8, and 9 further describe the land and the sea. Claim 7 describes the vegetation on the land. Claim 8 describes the living creatures on the land. And claim 9 describes the sea living creatures in the seas. Now, that's all good. We say that's one set of claims, all starting from that one independent claim, the claim where we have the creation consisting of the heavens and the earth. Now, claim 10, it starts another set of claims. Okay? Claim 10, the author here, the inventor, as he discloses to us, doesn't refer to anything previously when he starts describing man. So man is written as an independent claim. Okay? And man is written as the man consisting essentially of an image of God, where the image of God is a means to rule. That's how I took it from Genesis 1 here. And there's 2 dependent claims, dependent on claim 10. One, claim 11, that says the man of claim 10 further comprised of male and female. And then we have the last claim, claim 12, the man of claim 10, wherein the man is blessed as a means to reproduce, subdue the earth, and rule over the living creatures. Okay? Some might say that claim 12 should be dependent on claim 1, if that reproduction is dependent on the reproduction being male and female, and you can certainly make that argument, right? And I'm all good with that. So here we have our 2 sets of claims in these claim trees. The thing to notice here is that we have 2 independent claims. Claim number 1 is independent, and claim number 10 is independent. On these 2 independent claims hang all the others. Right? If claim 1 is not valid, all the dependent claims that depend on claim 1 will not be valid. If claim 10 is not valid, all the dependent claims that depend on claim 10 are not valid. On the other hand, if claim 1 is valid, all the dependent claims that depend on claim 1 must be valid. And if claim 10 is valid, then all the dependent claims that depend on claim number 10 must be valid. All right. Now, you can say to me, okay, Dr. DeBoer, this is all fun and interesting, but should we be using the Bible as an example for writing claims? Isn't that kind of corny? And is that the intent of Genesis 1? Well, no, it's probably not. and it's probably a kind of a corny exercise, but hey, you learned something about writing claims, didn't you? Yes. All right. So it wasn't all in vain. All right. But it does show you that you can take a passage that you read a lot of times, and if you're forced to read it in a different way, it reads a lot differently and would be arranged and structured and related in a lot different ways. Okay? So, those who study theology would tell me that, yeah, as Westerners, we don't often read Genesis 1 as we should. We shouldn't read it as a science. We shouldn't read it as history. We should read it as the poetry of the day. And they will tell you that there's a structure to the poetry that goes something like that. And so maybe this is a better way to read Genesis 1. And I'm all for that. Nonetheless, I think it can be helpful to use this claim language in our everyday life. Abraham Kuyper said, "There's not a square inch in the whole domain of our human existence over which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not claim mine." And so for our whole life, we can write claims. We can write a human existence consisting of a Christian faith, a family, a career, and a hobby. And then we can write dependent claims that better describe each of those elements of the independent claim. The human existence of claim 1, wherein the Christian faith is further comprised of an understanding of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And you can write dependent claims dependent on the dependent claim. And so all this, I think, can be a very helpful exercise sometimes as we go forth. And in closing, I'd just like to say that I think we already do this in our Christian tradition. We have this little song where we claim the promise, right? We claim the promise, we plead the blood over our life. And this is just an exercise to sort of formalize that claiming process that we've already done. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have with respect to the little exercise that we did today. Any questions out there in the audience?
I see one.
And no, AIs cannot be credited with being inventors yet, according to the USPTO, just in case you were wondering.
I was going back to your thing of claim, the independent claim of the creation of Earth. I think that was your first one. And then you said that claim 3, the creation of claim 2, is dependent on claim 2, and I don't understand why.
Okay, oops, go one back. All right, so claim 3 is about the vault that separates the waters above and below. Claim 3 is dependent on claim 2 because it also includes all those aspects of claim 2. Okay, so we're talking about a world that has light and dark, right? But now it also has this vault that separates the waters above from the waters below.
Okay, thank you.
If claim 3 hadn't been dependent on claim 2, then you might have a world that's light all the time or dark all the time. Yes? Good question.
Thank you for this interesting perspective on Genesis 1 and 2. I enjoy thinking about it this way. When I think about claims in patent law, I usually would think of it in terms of maybe if I'm designing a product and I want to build something. I'm an engineer, so I care about what can I build and how is it ethical to build things. Thinking of Genesis 1 and 2 this way, as if God is making claims of his creation, what does that imply about me as a man who wants to build and create things? Do you think that this applies to that?
Yeah, I think that we are, in the image of God, we are co-creators, right? And God valued his creation in setting out these claims that he did in Genesis. And I think that we can value our creations by claiming them as well. So I think there's a lot of parallels in there. Yes. And you can even draw parallels to, what happens when the claims that God made were infringed. God claims the world, but there was some infringement on God's claims to the world. There were unauthorized activities occurring in the world. What did that lead to? I'll let you think about that for a while. Other questions or comments?
What made you actually compare creating claims or patents to Genesis, the Word of God? What provoked that?
Well, I've been working in this area for a while, and as I was reading Genesis, I thought, well, this is written very much like a set of claims. And it implies to me that God is saying, this creation of mine has worth. You only claim something if it has worth to you. We only claim our real estate property because it has worth to us. Yes? So the fact that God is making these claims says that we are of worth to him. Yes? And I think it's a nice way to see this. It's a nice way to draw parallels to things in a way we haven't seen before.
Thank you. I enjoyed this. This comment's maybe a little bit humorous, but so as I'm thinking about it, I believe, and you can correct me, but I believe when you file a claim, we're supposed to provide enough information so that someone else would be technically able to reproduce that and
Yes.
and to recreate it if you gave them permission. And so I'm wondering if you have the other part of this claim that we could recreate a universe the way that God did. Still a little bit humorous, but
Yeah, that's a good question. You're right.
this is more like about patent law, maybe.
Yeah. In patent law, there's this 35 USC 112A, which is that the inventor has to disclose how to make and use the invention. Right, that's in the specification of the application. It's not in the claims themselves. So we can still write the claims and meet the claim specifications, even if we don't meet the other specifications of 35 USC. But yeah, that's kind of a humorous comment there. So thank you for that. Yes. Question in the back there, or a hand was up in the back. So you guys are all dark silhouettes.
Yeah.
For me up here.
When you do claims, the question is here in the middle.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
When you do claims, I believe they need to be lodged in the territories where you think an infringement might occur.
Mm-hmm.
So I designed something in the US, and I think it might be infringed upon in China and in the UK and in the US. If I lodge my claim just in the US and the UK and not in China, it's very likely that it could be infringed upon and I'd have no recourse.
Well, if you don't file in China, it wouldn't be infringed in China because you wouldn't have claimed it in China.
Exactly.
Right. So if you want to protect your invention in China, you would have to also file a patent in China. Yes. Otherwise, someone in China could just look at your disclosure and use it in China. And there are ways to file international patent applications through the U.S. as well. That would include China. Hi, any other questions?
Yes, over here.
Sure.
So if you open this up and look at Genesis 2 as perhaps an appendix to Genesis 1, and you see that when God goes to create Adam, he uses some of the dust of the earth. Does that change your tree?
Yeah, you could write additional claims there. That would be what we call process claims. And they could be dependent on, claim number 10, which says that, God created man. And then the process claims would be dependent claims to claim number 10 and say, this is how God created man out of the dust of the earth using DNA and RNA or whatever else you wanted to include in there. It wouldn't change the independent claim 10, that God had created man, if that makes sense.
Even though he created him out of the dust of the earth,
Right.
which is
That would be
dependent
a
on claim,
dependent claim.
on one.
That would be a dependent claim to
Yeah.
claim 10. So as long as the independent claim 10 holds, you can have as many dependent claims to claim 10 as you want, right? And they will all be valid.
All right, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Let's thank our speaker one more time.